I want to bring in former New Hampshire Senator and advisor to Judge Gorsuch, Kelly Ayotte. Senator, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Great to be with you, Maria. Thanks.
So I want to talk about, obviously, Neil Gorsuch, but first, give us your thoughts on this border security at the wall, as now the conversation is heightening and we're getting all these different proposals.
Well, I think this is really important. I have great respect for Secretary Kelly, and securing our border is important. The president ran on it, and in fact, Secretary Kelly, having served as the head of Southcom in the armed services, knows that that border is used to traffic illicit drugs, heroin that's devastated my state, as well as anything else that can be used to traffic. So it is important that we secure the border. So this is a very important hearing today, and the president's obviously trying to fulfill his campaign promise.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we'll see how that develops. Let's turn to the showdown in the Senate. It's now 14 hours that we're hearing this talking going on. Democratic Senator Jeff Merkley has been speaking for nearly 14 hours straight. It's been a solo talkathon opposing the Supreme Court nominee. Do you think Republicans are moving forward with the nuclear option? How do you see this playing out?
Well, let me just say, Maria, Judge Gorsuch testified for 20 hours before the Senate Judiciary Committee, answered all the questions that came forward from both sides of the aisle. The way I see this going forward, it's really unfortunate that we are where we are, that the Senate Democrats are going to block such a highly qualified person to serve on the United States Supreme Court, got the highest rating from the ABA, has had people like President Obama's former Solicitor General come out in support of him. And here they are forcing the Republicans in this situation where, in order to make sure someone who's qualified can serve on the Supreme Court, that they have to change the rules. And really, it's the Democrats that are putting them in this situation.
Yeah.
Senator, it's Dagan McDowell, but does this change the color, complexity, and the future for all Supreme Court nominees if the Republicans do have to change the precedent in the Senate for voting in a Supreme Court justice with just a simple majority?
Well, it does, in the sense that this has not happened before, except for Abe Fortas, which was both sides of the aisle. But if you look at historically, whether it was President Obama's justices that he nominated, Sotomayor and Kagan, this was not done, or with Justices Alito or Roberts or Thomas. So this really does change the nature of this. It's unfortunate, it's unnecessary, and you have such a highly qualified person nominated by the president. So this is a situation where they are just obstructing to obstruct, and instead of really letting the up or down vote occur on the merits on the Senate floor, and it will change the nature of how these nominations go forward.
Senator, Kirsten Haglund here. So you've been in so many of these meetings with the nominee, with Neil Gorsuch, and you've been there in the room when he's been talking to these Democratic senators. And I think that what a lot of people don't understand is that these liberal groups that are really pressuring these senators and testing them for ideological purity here, that pressure is really, really intense. And so I'm wondering what optimism you have, because all of that stems from these groups and these people on the ground. What is the hope moving forward that there can be some kind of middle ground here, that people will go back to longing for moderation in these things, because it just seems to get more and more polarized and like it's not doing any good for the country?
Well, I have to say, you know, Judge Gorsuch met with nearly 80 senators. I was in those meetings, had, you know, very good, measured, productive discussions, answered their questions. But you do see the pressure from the left here. Clearly, these litmus tests that they're putting in place, it is not good for the country. We do need to work together to solve our problems. And when the president nominates someone who's so highly qualified, who has support from across the political spectrum, including a former Democratic governor from Colorado, been on the court for 10 years in the 10th Circuit. So where we are today, we do need to come together to get things done for the nation, and this doesn't bode well when you have these left-wing groups really pressuring the Democratic Party to obstruct such a qualified individual.
I mean, isn't this a lot about Merrick Garland? The Democrats' pushback against Gorsuch seems to be the fact that Merrick Garland wasn't given a Senate hearing after being nominated by former President Obama. But it's funny to see even liberal celebrities like Cher, for example, who, by the way, said she was going to move to another planet if President Trump won. She said she's had enough, and this is what she recently tweeted. Dems, the Merrick Garland ship has sailed. Let it go. Or do you want some cheese to go with your wine? This tantrum reeks of desperation. Funny. Your thoughts, Senator?
Well, I never thought I'd agree with Cher, but she's right. I mean, here's the situation. The American people weighed in the election. They elected President Trump, and they knew one of the big issues in the election was the Supreme Court. And so I would argue that, you know, the president put the list out in advance of who he may pick. He picked someone highly qualified from that list. And so they're relitigating what has already been the subject that the American people weighed in on. It's time to move forward, and with such a highly qualified nominee in Judge Gorsuch.
Yeah, but maybe maybe the Dems want the Republicans to use the nuclear option this time around, so they don't have the ability to use the nuclear option for the next Supreme Court.
Well, I don't get it, because once it happens, it'll be a 50-vote threshold for the next person that the president nominates if there's another vacancy. So once they've done it, they've changed the rules, and that is a situation that will change the Senate and these nominations going forward. So to me, that doesn't make sense, and obviously they're in this position where they are blocking an up or down vote on someone who has had the respect and is really qualified and exceptionally qualified to serve. It's unfortunate where we are.
The Democrats should have kept their powder dry for a Supreme Court nominee that would change the complexion of the court. Judge Gorsuch will not, because he's replacing Antonin Scalia. But the next one, say, if Ruth Bader Ginsburg steps aside and you have a conservative nominee, that's when they should have used the filibuster.
Right.
But again, it's all political.
And if they push back on everything, they lose credibility on everything. Right?
Amen.
It's a race to the bottom.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all they're doing.
Exactly. Senator, good to see you. Thanks so much.
Great to be with you. Thank you.
Kelly Ayotte joining us there. Still